Hello, fellow tale spinners. This is Raikai, coming to you once again with another edition of Right to the Point. This week, the characteristics of a good story. When you think about books and movies you've loved, what comes to mind with most masses? In terms of movies, we have such iconic ones as Pulp Fiction, Goodfellas, E.T., Star Wars, Jaws, The Godfather, Dr. Strangelove, Psycho, North by Northwest, The Seven Samurai, Singing in the Rain. With books, we have classics such as The Grapes of Wrath, To Kill a Mockingbird, The Hobbit, The Great Gatsby, Sherlock Holmes, Alice in Wonderland, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Dracula, Frankenstein. Both lists are endless, but why do we remember them? What do we love about these stories so much that we're willing to read or watch them again and again? Take any of these titles as an example and you can break them into 5 parts. A clearly defined theme, a well-developed plot, style, characterization, and dramatic appeal. Some of these have extensive subcategories, but today we will focus on theme and approach. Many people get lost with terms such as plot, theme, and mood, and often confuse one for another. So here's a basic rundown. A plot is a main sequence of events, A, B, C, D, and E. A theme is a recurring idea that pervades in a work of art or literature. The spin-off of that would be symbols or symbolism, but symbols are not the theme. They carry the theme. In some cases. The mood is the atmosphere or pervading tone in a work of art or literature. Most get confused with the difference between theme and mood in terms of a story, so here's an example. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde's theme is the duality of good and evil, but the mood or the tone of the story amplifies that, with Hyde existing only in dark areas of the book, nighttime, back alleys of London, and through the diction that the story is told. Now, there are tons of themes to make a story out of, but they can be watered down to 6 basic themes. Man versus man versus himself, man versus the world, man versus the supernatural, man versus nature, and man versus mortality. Even with these 6 main categories, you're not bound to just one. Take Hamlet, for example. The only theme that seems to be absent is man versus nature. Primarily, the theme is man and man versus himself, as Hamlet's goal is to avenge his father's death, but also question himself on whether or not it's a good idea. Themes do not say all, though, because it's up to you to decide what kind of a story you want to tell. Do you want it to be about a character confronting the facts of life, coming of age, understanding that crime doesn't pay, that friendship is worth sacrifice? Now that you have a theme or two in mind, what's your plot going to be? That's sometimes the most difficult thing to determine and is often approached in a very roundabout way. Some start at the beginning, others come at it in segments, and some work from the ending backwards. The thing to keep in mind when you're figuring out your plot, besides how to keep the theme consistent, is how to tell it. You have a few different perspective choices. First-person perspective. The story is told from a character's perspective on the events in the story, which can be, but not limited to, one perspective. The skill comes in clearly defining who is talking to not confuse the reader. Different fonts come in handy. This perspective is the most creative in terms of interpretation and reaction to the plot. Here's an example. The Handmaid's Tale is a story of Offred, who's trying to survive in the dystopian society of Gilead after religious fanatics take over the U.S. and turn civilization into constrained castes, leaving Offred in the position of being a surrogate mother, whether she likes it or not. It's a good read, much as it terrified me. It's told from Offred's perspective, recounting the events that led to her societal enslavement while trying to maintain a sense of freedom and integrity. While first perspective is fun to explore personal characters' drives, interpretations, and reactions to the plot, it is also the most limiting in trying to get immersed in the world the plot offers and to understand the other characters. Second perspective. The most rare of perspectives in literature, often used as a choose-your-own adventures, as this is told in the you perspective. I have only read one piece of literature that used this perspective when it wasn't a choose-your-own, and combined with its theme, it made for a very good claustrophobic story. This is the least palatable perspective, as the reader is at the complete mercy of what the writer feels is necessary to describe and do. Third perspective. The most common perspective, often describing the actions in past tense as well as the environment. This is the most flexible of the perspectives because this allows the writer to immerse their audience in the world and the environment. This perspective is the silent observer, watching all the players interact in their environment. Its even more common and specific cousin is third-person omniscient, wherein this includes what other characters are thinking in a current situation. With a theme and perspective in mind, now you have to figure out where you open up the door, and there are two methods. There's your prologue, usually your exposition lane in which the reader is identified with the world and the scenario leading up to the plot of the book. Sometimes it's necessary in books, but oftentimes it's the equivalent of a chihuahua gnawing on your leg. Some exposition is good, but get carried away and it's third grade history class all over again. Your other option is et media res, which is Latin for in the middle. Best movie example I can think of is James Bond, specifically GoldenEye, as he's in the middle of sabotaging Russian base camps. This is a great way to hook your audiences, provided you explain what the shite just happened when the scene's over. With a pair of storytelling eyeballs, an entryway, and a theme, you now can begin to construct your plots. Really, the only thing that can be said in your plot is with every event, every scene, is it necessary to the plot? Does it entertain? Does it inform? Do we learn anything about the situation or the characters? If you can't say yes to all three, you might want to change up the scene until it does answer all three. Remember, if you are writing for an audience, you have to keep them in mind. This is Raikai saying adios and good luck with spinning tales. Next week, style and diction. How to make it sound good.